Commission meeting. Thank you all for being with us today. I will call upon first the introduction of the commission members. And I'd like to start this evening with Celissa Jefferson, who is our newest member. And Celissa, could you go ahead and introduce yourself, and then if we can go through the introduction, the rest, Taylor, if you can show that screen.
Sure. Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Celissa Jefferson. I am so happy to be here. I come with experience in community economic development. I've worked in Baltimore City Main Streets program, which is an affiliate to Main Streets America and the Natural Preservation Trust. I've worked in many different capacities within Main Streets, from onboarding arts and entertainment districts, finding grants for our historic districts such as Fells Point, Federal Hill, and I'm just so honored to be here. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. We're so glad to have you with us. So start with Phoebe next.
Okay. Hi, I'm Phoebe Evans-Latosha, and I'm an executive appointment.
And of course, I'm John Holman, the chair from District 5.
Hi, I'm Scott Olupka. I'm a member of the Baltimore County Planning Board, and I'm the Planning Board's representative on the Landmarks Preservation Committee.
Ed? Did Ed make it? Can you tell? Taylor?
Yes, I'm here. I was muted. I introduced myself.
Oh, okay. Glad you made it.
But I'm Ed Horde. I'm an executive appointment and co-chair of the Landmark Preservation Commission.
Hey, John, I just need to interrupt. We just need to make sure you call the meeting to order because you forgot to.
Oh, I thought I
you just
did.
Yeah.
I did. When I said it was 6:05 and the meeting had come to order, I'm sorry. I felt a little.
No worries. Sorry, go ahead. Continue.
Vince, you here?
No Vince.
Wendy?
No Wendy.
Lily?
I am Lily Mundroff, and I'm in representative of Council District 1.
Thank you. Stephen?
No Steve.
Marina?
No Marina.
Ray?
Hi, my name is Ray Scott. I'm a council appointee from District 7.
I can see Chris. So Chris, you're up next.
Chris Weston, District 2.
Thank you. Thank you. We are your volunteer representatives appointed by our county council person or county executive and entrusted to monitor renovations and additions to our Baltimore County historic resources. We review and approve nominations to the Baltimore County Preliminary Landmarks List and comment on National Register nominations. Additionally, we are charged with evaluating submissions to the Baltimore County Historic Tax Credit Program that encourages the appropriate maintenance and renovation of designated historic properties. Now, please stand and we will recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The Landmarks Preservation Commission operates under the authority, standards, and requirements of Title VII, Article 32 of the Baltimore County Code. We refer to the United States Secretary of the Interior's standards for rehabilitation as administered by the National Park Service. This is the accepted national standard for historic preservation projects. Our own Baltimore County Historic Preservation Design Guidelines directly reference and incorporate the Secretary of the Interior standards for rehabilitation. We have important preservation issues to discuss and debate at each meeting. If you would like to make comments, please limit your comments to the specific application or proposal submission being reviewed. We ask for your assistance and understanding so that discussions do not digress. As an additional comment, we can all agree that historic preservation is an important aspect of the quality of life and place that makes Baltimore County unique. As a commission, we seek to recommend significant buildings and places for landmark consideration to the County Council for their final vote. As commissioners, we serve on the commission due to our expertise, interest, and passion for historic buildings and places and review submissions based solely on their merit. While we may disagree in discussion and voting, we continue to be a collegial body that respects each other personally and professionally. And with that, speaking of professionally, we will be guided tonight by our professional staff, Taylor Bensley and Caitlin Merritt. Thank you so much, as always, for all you do for us.
Thank you. Thank you, John.
And then, that being said, we will go to any consideration of changes to today's agenda. Anything we need to think about there, Taylor?
Yes, real quick before we do that, just since we have a lot of members of the public on, I would like to offer a staff reminder on offering comments. Those of you that have signed up ahead of time to speak, we will call on you and unmute you at the appropriate time. If you would like to make comments during the meeting, there's a chat box. Please select, you can either select host or you can select all panelists. Please send your name, the agenda item you wish to comment on, your relation to the project, and any comments that you may have. Additionally, if you would like to address the LPC during the meeting, there's a hand raise button next to your hand. You can click that to signify to staff that you would like to speak. Additionally, please note that the information presented on the slideshow that you're seeing is just an overview of the meeting materials. The commission received all meeting materials 1 week ago. Anything that was submitted has been shared with them. This is just a visual to keep the meeting moving along and refresh everyone's memory. And with that, there are no changes to today's agenda.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Minutes of the January 13th meeting, are there any changes? And if not, is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second by Phoebe.
Good, thank you. All in favor, just raise your hand. Good.
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. And then the consent agenda items 10, 11, 13, and 14. Would you like to introduce those, Taylor?
Yes, thank you. Agenda item number 10, the Mond property at 1554 South Rolling Road in Relay. This is a contributing structure in the Relay County Historic District, MIP number BA2531. This is part 2 approval for the in-kind plaster repairs for the first floor fireplace. Staff's recommendation is to vote to issue a certificate of appropriateness, citing National Park Service Technical Preservation Services Preservation Brief number 21, repairing historic flat plaster, and County Code section 112201. Agenda item number 11, the Wolf Adorian property, I apologize if I said that wrong, at 623 Dunkirk Road in Annesley. This is a contributing structure in the Annesley National Register Historic District, and the proposal is part 2 approval for electrical updates. Staff's recommendation is to vote to issue a certificate of appropriateness, citing the Secretary of the Interior standards for the treatment of historic properties with guidelines for preserving, rehabilitating, restoring, and reconstructing historic buildings, and County Code section 112201. I'm sorry, I'm missing a page of my notes. Agenda item number 13, the Kecken property at 3605 Fieldstone Road in Fieldstone. This is a contributing structure in the Fieldstone County Historic District. The proposal is the in-kind replacement of the asphalt shingle roof and aluminum gutters. Staff's recommendation is to vote to issue a certificate of appropriateness, citing Baltimore County Historic Design Guidelines, Roofs page 10, and County Code section 327405. And finally, agenda item number 14, the Crystopolis property at 1549 South Rolling Road in Relay. This is a non-contributing structure in the Relay County Historic District. The proposal is the installation of a 6-foot board-on-board wood fence and 2 wing-gate style gates to finish enclosing the rear yard. Staff's recommendation is to vote to issue a certificate of appropriateness, citing Baltimore County Historic Design Guidelines, Fences and Landscape, page 4, and County Code Section 327-405.
Good, thank you. Any discussions on that? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve all the consent items?
Motion to approve.
And a
Second by Phoebe.
Thank you. And then voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, thank you. They're approved.
Great, thank you. Moving on, we have agenda item number 4. This is the
Thank you, Taylor.
no, you're good. Agenda item number 4, the Waltmeyer property at 206 West Seminary Avenue in Lutherville. This is a contributing structure in the Lutherville County Historic District, MIP number BA343. The proposal is ex post facto review of the garage demolition without a permit and/or LPC review for code enforcement correction notice CB 2100502. 206 West Seminary Avenue is a contributing structure in the Lutherville County Historic District. The main house is a shingled American 4-square style home with colonial revival details constructed around 1910. The applicant, Mr. Bill Castle, and his attorney, Mr. Scott Breza, are representing the owner, Mr. Carol Waltmeyer, who purchased the home in 2019. They are requesting ex post facto approval of the demolition of a contributing detached garage on the property. The garage was a frame, 1-bay, single-story wood shingle garage with a gable roof, likely built around the same time as the home or a few years later. In addition, it had a frame lean-to addition on its rear elevation. Staff was alerted to the work occurring on the property on August 4th, 2021, and by August 6th, 2021, staff was alerted that the garage was demolished. Code enforcement issued a correction notice on September 22nd, 2021 for the demolition without a permit and/or LPC review. Staff provided additional photos of the garage from a 2018 real estate listing and photos submitted by neighbors in August with the meeting materials. In communication with staff, Mr. Castle explained that the garage was already in a declining state when it suffered damage after a storm in June of 2021, where a large tree fell on the property and in the vicinity of the garage. The subsequent debris and removal and demo was constructed by a contractor without obtaining the necessary permits. No insurance claim was mentioned. From photos and the narrative provided by the applicant, the roof showed evidence of numerous episodes of repairs and replacements, which included layers of the original tin roof, wood, multiple layers of asphalt shingles, and a top layer of cedar shakes. The applicant described the condition of the structure as deteriorating, and the wood showed evidence of structural damage from termites, carpenter ants, and rotten wood, making the structure unsafe. Additional information about the structure's construction and its condition is outlined in the meeting materials. Lutherville was designated as a county historic district in 1987. Any deterioration to the garage prior to its demolition over the last 34 years appears to be the result of general lack of maintenance. Staff understands that the condition of the garage when the property came into Mr. Waltmeyer's possession in 2019 is through no fault of his own. However, the necessary repairs should have been made to the garage under his ownership prior to the storm, which would have been tax credit eligible. From the photos submitted with the application, it appears that the garage was not directly hit by the tree, but rather that some branches made contact with the structure. The tree removal may have been an excuse to demolish the garage rather than repair it, possibly in part of preparing the property for selling as it went on the market in November of 2021. From the storm damage in June to its demolition in August 2021, the property owner and/or their representative did not reach out to staff for information on repairing or removing the garage. Additionally, after demolition began, the property owners and/or their representatives made no attempts to contact staff, despite numerous neighbors alerting the contractors to the historic district designation multiple times. Had the repairs or removal of the garage come before the commission prior to the demolition, the commission likely would have required the property owner to complete in-kind repairs and replacements to restore the structure rather than approving its demolition. Historic outbuildings and garages are often neglected and the first structure is lost. However, they hold significance and can share the history of evolution of residential architecture and planned communities due to the invention of the car. They are especially important in Lutherville, which was built as a resort community and resolved into an early commuter suburb due to its close proximity to the railroad and later the onset of the car. The Commission has seen several cases of this in the past and has always required past property owners to rebuild the structure to match what was demolished. Staff recommends the Commission to discuss this further and determine the best outcome for this particular case. Staff's recommendation is to vote to not issue a certificate of appropriateness or notice to proceed for the ex post facto garage demolition and require the property owner to submit an application for rebuilding the garage with complete elevation drawings within 60 days, which would require submittal on or before April 11th, 2022, or have a citation issued by code enforcement. This is in accordance with the Baltimore County Historic Design Guidelines, Fences and Landscapes, pages 1 and 5, and County Code section 327405 and 327403. And just as a heads up, we do have multiple people signed up to speak.
Good. And so as a reminder to those who are speaking, we generally limit it to 2 minutes each, right? Is that correct?
Yes, yes, correct. The community members will each be given 2 minutes. Caitlin, did we want to give Caitlin time frame for the applicant? I'm going to defer to her on that one, but she's muted. There we go.
We have 3 minutes on the screen, so keep it under 3 minutes, between 2 to 3 minutes.
Okay. And should we start with the applicant and then go to the neighbors?
Yes. So first up, we have Mr. Scott Breza. He is the attorney for the applicant. And Mr. Breza, you are unmuted.
Thank you. And thank you, members of the commission, for your time tonight. I am here representing Mr. Carol Waltmeyer, who is the owner of the property in question. Some of the history was presented, but not all of it. Mr. Waltmeyer obtained this property at a foreclosure sale in 2019. He was not given, because of the nature of the purchase, any background information about the community, about the historic nature, about the condition of the property. He did it as an investment. Unfortunately, shortly after the purchase, Mr. Waltmeyer's health took a turn for the worse. He suffers from advanced Parkinson's disease, dementia, and memory impairment and is under full-time care. He is 92 years old as of this January. Mr. Castle, who's also here tonight and will speak, has been managing Mr. Waltmeyer's affairs. He has been trying to prepare this property for sale and did cosmetic renovations to the interior of the premises. They were evaluating the exterior of the premises. As was stated, the shed was in extremely poor condition, as you can see from the photos we submitted prior to Mr. Waltmeyer obtaining the property. There was a storm event that occurred that knocked down several trees, and some of the branches did strike the shed, but more importantly, it destabilized the shed. As you can see from the photograph on page 9, it's leaning severely. And the contractor that was there, who will also is here to speak tonight, he and Mr. Castle felt it was an immediate danger and that they needed to do something because of the condition of the shed. As you can see, the upper right photo, it's leaning significantly. The interior of it was in very poor condition. It would have been very challenging to have anybody in there to restore the shed. That's really what we're here about. This was an emergency situation that my client remedied and was not aware at the time of the process. Now we're faced with this situation, the economics of building a shed back to the condition of what this was would be extremely burdensome and not economically feasible for my client due to his health conditions, due to his situation, the fact that he's under full-time care. This would be a major challenge for him. We are asking the commission to approve the demolition ex post facto due to all those factors, which Mr. Castle and Jason Wood and Jim Bimsteffer will go into in greater detail. Thank you.
Thank you. Commission members, any questions for Mr. Breza? Hearing none, let's proceed to the next. There's some others on your team who want to speak.
I have a question. Are we timing this? Are we going to give people you've got 30 seconds to go? And
The applicant's going to get a little bit longer time. The members of the public are going to be between 2 to 3 minutes.
okay.
I forgot to mention that before, so sorry.
Yeah, Caitlin is our timer, so she's keeping an eye on that for us. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Mr. Breza, is Mr. Castle with you? Is he online? I'm not seeing him.
He did register. He was to be online.
Okay, I'm not seeing him. If you'd like, we can move forward with Mr. James
Bimsteffer. That would be perfect. Thank you.
Okay, perfect.
And what is his relation to the applicant?
He is the real estate agent who has been working with the applicant.
Okay. Thank you.
And James, you are unmuted, so you can go ahead and speak.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful. So Mr. Waltmeyer, Mr. Castle brought me on board to help them with the process of selling the property. I don't know that it matters. I've been selling real estate here in the area for since 1984, so a long time, and I've helped over 4,000 people in the area sell their home and move. So I've got good experience. When Mr. Castle brought me in to look at that structure in the very beginning, I told him it's an eyesore. He wanted me to walk into it. This was well before the tree fell on it. I would not go in that shed. It was clearly unsafe from the beginning. The worst part looking of the shed is actually gone. I don't see any pictures of it. From a marketing point of view, we literally took every picture we took, did not include the shed in it because it was an eyesore. It was a danger. It was something that I was very concerned about, even having the home on the market and having that there because it was a danger. With the from the point of the instability, if you actually look at the structure itself, I do not believe that it was built in 1910 or even close to when this home was built. Because if you look at some of the pictures on there, you'll look at the cement slab. That's a modern cement slab. It went all the way under the structure. Somebody would have at some point had to have lifted that entire structure up, poured a cement slab, and put the entire structure back down. And if you look at the wood, it's not 1910 hand-hewed wood. There was more modern wood on the inside of the structure, which is probably why that thing kept falling down. Somebody probably built that in the 50s. Use the shingle to try to match up, and with somebody just continually putting modern shingles on top of it, it's doing what it's doing now and falling down. When the tree fell, it completely demolished the structure on the back side of it and landed against the shed and took something that was from unsafe and unstable to downright dangerous. Bill, at the time when he was talking to me, I had driven by and looked at it. We were afraid it was going to fall over and crush the neighbor's fence and their trees, and that would create an additional further problem. So we, Bill, as the contractor was there, was trying to look at it to figure out what to do. It was coming down. I mean, really, it would be, I could tell you, I've been in construction all my life. I would have not put one of my contractors inside that to try to stabilize it. It was coming down whether we wanted it to or not. They used the loader and I guess pushed it over or pulled it over so it didn't go on the neighbor's property. But I mean, that property was, it was not safe, and I don't think it's of a historic nature. I think it was built much after that.
Thank you, Mr. Bimsteffer. Just one question that I have.
Yes, sir.
With your great experience, which I'm sure is a help, to your clients, but would you not have, you must have been aware that Lutherville was a historic neighborhood and these were protected buildings.
Yeah, it definitely was aware it's a historic neighborhood, was aware that things would have been protected, and at the same time, it was already coming down.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have any questions?
I do. I have a question. This is Lily Mundroff. I hear it being referred to as a shed and a garage, and there seems to have been two structures, one attached, adjoined the other. Can we get a little more specific when they're referring to the shed? Are they only talking about the back structure or the front one as well? And
the front as well. I mean, it was on the back side was like an old chicken coop.
Okay.
That somebody had, at some point, it probably somebody had rabbits or chickens or something of that nature that they had on the back side of it. And that whoever built it, was probably in the late 80s, was leaning against a shed, which started the problem. Okay. And then, somebody kept putting roof shingles on it. The structure wasn't built to hold that. But frankly, I don't think you could, if you had maybe a smart car, you might fit it in between those doors, but you weren't going to fit a modern compact in there. I mean, it wasn't built for that.
Thank you, Mr. Bimsteffer. Any other questions from anyone? Okay, and we have someone else from the applicant's team as well, Taylor.
Yes, next.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Breza.
I believe they're logged in under Jason Wood.
Yes, that's what I was just gonna say.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and Mr. Breza, just for clarification, Mr. Castle, is he the representative or was he the contractor for the job?
He's the representative of the owner.
Okay, that was what I thought. And Mr. Wood, you are unmuted, so you can go ahead and speak.
Yes, I'm here. I think everybody said enough about shed. I think we all get the idea that it was in poor shape. I mean, the inside of it had mold on the bottom. The floor still placed for rot, and it wasn't anchored to the cinder block foundation, I guess, if that's what you call it. We can go on and on and on. It was bad. And I did not talk to anybody from the Historical Society before I tore it down. I did not know it was historical. And there was damage to it, but most of it was neglect way before 2019. And I think it might look historical because the shingles nailed to the side that were mostly rotten, but I don't see how, in my opinion, it could be that historic the way it was built inside. I wish I could show you every picture I have on my phone, but I can't. That's all I have to say about that, unless you all have questions for me.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. Any questions from any of the commissioners?
Yeah, I have a question. I've heard several people say this was not a historic building. It's built in the 50s. Yet we're hearing that it had a metal roof, it had asphalt shingle roof, it had other roofs. That does not sound like a roof, a building that is, 50 years old, 40 years old. It sounds like a building that's been around for a while, that is old enough to have 3 or 4 different roofs on it. So I find that's a little bit of conflict of what we're hearing today.
Well, can I answer back to him?
Briefly, I think that was more a comment than a question.
Okay, well, there's a comment too. Well, it did have many styles of roof, but just like any shed you possibly might buy at a Home Depot or from a shed place, they didn't start with any underlayment like tar paper. So it rotted from underneath and it kept adding on top of it. That's it.
I think we're clear on that. Thank you. And now we have some neighbors, Taylor?
Yes. Mr. Breza, was there anyone else from your team registered to speak? That's the only person. Those are the only ones I'm seeing.
Mr. Castle is also, and he is with Mr. Wood.
Oh, okay.
They're using the same login.
Perfect. Mr. Wood, you're unmuted again. So Mr. Castle, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I assure you, the decision to take the action we did as an emergency was not taken lightly. And I also assure you that if it were possible at the time to rebuild, shore up, or even apply for a demo permit, I would have done that. I just, the situation was such that it was safe and the structure was totally unstable. To back up what Mr. Wood said, when this building was built, it was actually, there were no foundation plates. It was wood as the vertical support was sitting on cement blocks. The horizontal ribs there were several of them in sequence, maybe 4 or 5. They were attached to the material that was supporting that, and that building was actually held together, and it was actually a freestanding building with a very, very heavy roof that was camelbacking and totally rotten and from weather and neglect. The thing of it is that if the building was top heavy and the storms and the extreme weather and the high winds and the microburst situation that took that giant tree out actually shifted the building toward the neighbor's yard, and they have expensive cars sitting beside of it, and personal injury. The important thing is that if we didn't take action when we did, there's a really big risk liability for me or Mr. Waltmeyer of someone getting hurt or property damage. And the insurance company had already inspected the building shortly after we purchased it, or he purchased it. And they also gave us warning that if anything happened to damage property or personnel, that my liability coverage would not be intact. So you have to look at it from that perspective. I love historical buildings. I live in one, an 1885 pre-Civil War manor home. I'm restoring it with TLC to historical standards. If I could have saved this building, and we discussed it many times with estimates to do anything with it and keep it as it exists, it was impossible. Every contractor that I talked to said there's no way to save this building. It's going to fall down. And I assure you, I felt, and Mr. Wood felt, that there was no time to wait because it was going to be, you had no meeting in August, it was going to be 60 days. And if I had more time to do that process without putting Mr. Waltmeyer in severe liability, I was between a rock and a hard place. We really didn't want to do this unless we had to. And the active nature and the wind, severe wind.
Okay, Mr. Castle, what we're really looking for is any new information at this point, not a recitation of past information. So,
all right.
Unless you have something new to add at this point.
Well, yes. Very quickly, Mr. Waltmeyer is a 92-year-old guy, and I'm a 76-year-old guy, and all I'm doing was trying to help him get a little profit to keep himself in 24-hour care and to sell this nice home to a wonderful family. Secondly, there was no historical information provided when we purchased the property because it was a foreclosure sale. And again, I regret having to do this. I only did it because it's in the best interest of the community, and we felt it was an emergency at the time, and the time was working against us. And I beg your forgiveness for not doing this the way you would like me to do it. I felt we had to do this, and I pray that you'll help us.
Thank you, Mr. Castle. Moving on next to the neighbors who will each have a two-minute limit. How many do we have?
Hey, John, are we able to ask questions of Mr. Castle?
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sorry. I'm racing on here. Please.
Yeah, just had a couple questions. So the storm was in June. Do we have a date in June when the storm was? I didn't notice that in any of it just, the meeting minutes just said June, not a date in June.
Sort of mid-June, I think.
Okay.
There
And,
were several storms.
okay, so in terms of, when the tree fell. So did you make any effort to contact LPC staff between mid-June and August 6th when the shed was taken down or the garage was taken down?
I do not believe so.
Okay.
I really didn't know. I really wasn't aware of the controlling agency because I didn't understand I didn't have all the bylaws and HOAs and all that at closing, and so I didn't really understand that process.
Okay. And then was there any insurance claim from the storm damage?
There's one pending. Yeah, there's one pending. It's not complete yet.
And what's so does that involve the tree removal and?
Yes, whatever the adjuster can justify from all the pictures and from my statements.
And was there any insurance report related to the garage?
Yes.
Okay, and that wasn't included in the meeting materials at all, or the application? Is there a reason why that wasn't included?
I did file an insurance claim, and it's ongoing, and so it's tree, garage, and so on and so forth. So that's not resolved yet.
Any further questions? Thank you. Excuse me. And then Taylor, we have some neighbors and community people lined up to speak as well.
Yes, so far we have 4 folks lined up to speak. First up, we have Miss Marianne, I apologize, I'm gonna say this wrong, Whittlesberger. And Marianne, you're unmuted. And there is a little timer on the screen. You'll be given 2 minutes. That goes for all community members signed up to speak. You'll have 2 minutes to speak. And obviously, please keep your comments relevant to the proposal at hand. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for having me. I am Marianne Whittlesberger, previous owner of 206 West Seminary Avenue.
Me too.
My husband, Steve Bauer, is here as well. You may hear him. We had a private mortgage with Mr. Waltemeyer. He has been to our house way before he bought the property. He did a thorough investigation of the property, and he knows it's a historic district. When he came out to look at the property before he gave us a private mortgage, to say that they only saw the property when they bought it at foreclosure sale is a lie. Mr. Bill Castle also at one point during the foreclosure negotiations brought out his contractor, and I don't know if it was the guy that is there now, but he also looked thoroughly at the property. So Bill Castle knows this property well. So for him to say that he never saw it beforehand is not true. When we left in April of 2019, the garage was in great shape. It was sound. It was not falling down. There were no roof leaks. The roof was not collapsing. We had valuable property stored in there. I had expensive bikes, props, sets, costumes, Christmas decorations, lawn equipment, electrical equipment that we stored in there. I would have never put anything valuable in there if I thought it was going to collapse and fall down on it. We also built sets and different things for our business in that garage. If it was not safe, I would have never gone in there and put myself at danger, or I certainly would have put my neighbors in danger of that. It's a garage, by the way, not a shed, as they keep referring to it. And yes, I did put a car in that garage when I first moved there. I had my automobile in there.
Thank you, Ms. Whittlesberger. That your time is up. We appreciate those.
Okay, I got a lot more information for you.
So. Well,
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
But at this moment, I don't know. Typically, if we allow questioning of other comments, as opposed to the applicant? Caitlin or Taylor, can you advise me on kind of the rule of order of that?
No, you're correct. The public is just on to ask, just to offer testimony. If you have questions, they should be directed to the applicant unless it's a specific question for a neighbor or such.
Good. Thank you. And then we'll go with the next person now.
Yes, moving on, going back to Phoebe's question about the insurance claim, Mr. Scott Breza did send a chat in that he had something to add to Mr. Castle's remarks, so I just wanted to go back to him very briefly and then we'll move on. So Mr.
Okay,
Breza,
thank you.
Related to the insurance claim, we did attempt to get documentation from the insurance carrier, but couldn't in a timely manner. They did do an investigation, they did do a site visit, but we don't have their report at this time, or we would have submitted it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Next up, we have Miss Marie Frederick. She is the she's on the Lutherville Advisory Committee. And Marie, you are unmuted. The timer is on the screen, so the floor is yours.
Thanks, Taylor. Let me ask you a question. Can I give my time to Mary Ann?
No, typically we don't allow combining of time.
Okay. So you have my letter, and so I don't need to reiterate what's in the letter. I just have a couple of comments from listening to the information tonight, and that is a couple of things that if there was a realtor working on this property and aware of the property, they should have known it was in a historic district, and they should have known what needed to be done in order to get a request for demolition. Yes, because there was no meeting in August, you can always ask for an emergency, sorry, excuse me, but you can ask for an emergency declaration where you can, ask to have, if it needs to be demoed or whatever. So there's no excuse for why Mr. Castle did not get to the commission in June when there was a storm, and why did we wait from June to August to take it down? And I tried to reach out to him. I went up to the house several times. So I really think that there's really no excuse that they didn't know they were in the district, and that they also did not get an emergency hearing for the commission to let them know that this garage needed to be repaired, replaced. And I live in a house that was built in 1865, and my house looks like it has things that can't be repaired, but I have managed to find people to repair them and fix them back to their original condition. So I think that it could have been repaired had we wanted to take the time and the funds to repair them. And as Mary Ann said, he didn't just find out about the property. I think that's pretty much all I have to say, because you have my 3-page letter, so I won't bore you with that.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Commission. Thanks, Taylor. Thanks for everything.
Thank you, Ms. Frederick. And next up is?
Next up, we have Mr. Charles Davis. And Mr. Davis, you're unmuted.
Thank you for allowing me to comment. I've submitted a letter but I just would like to emphasize some of the points in it. One is in the application material. Both maps that are associated material are incorrect. The cover map, which actually may have been produced by your staff because it came from Baltimore County, it includes some of my property, and it has to do with the way the deed is written as an exclusion from the deed. So just know that any of those map graphics are incorrect. The other thing is I live immediately adjacent, and I have a garage very similar to this. It's larger, but it's built out of in the same procedures and process. And all the claims that I've seen in the application related to the construction are how old garages are built. That's how old historic garages are built. They're not built with pressure treated wood, and they're not always tied to the foundation. And they're often built with secondary materials used from something else. It isn't uncommon. It's a feature of the garage to be built that way. I want you to all look very, very closely at the applicant's photographs. All indications of instability in this garage happened after demolition began. The picture of the garage slanted to the right. It's only one wall that's slanted to the right. It's the wall that was starting to be dismantled. There's no way that this would have rolled onto the neighbor's property, and you can see it from the images on the screen right now. There are large trees between the garage and the neighbor's fence. There's no way this would have rolled over there. The tree that fell came nowhere near this garage. And all you need to do is look at the applicant's photos. It shows the untouched back shed, roof, and wall. So don't be confused by all these photographs that look unstable. These are all the result of the demolition.
Thank you, Mr. Davis.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Your 2 minutes are up, but we appreciate your letter as well. Thank you. And who's next? Taylor?
Next up, and our final person signed up to speak is Miss Christine. Christine, I'm sorry, I'm not even going to try your last names. Something Miller. And Christine, you are unmuted.
That's all right. Thank you. I'm the person whose cars and family and safety is continually cited here. And I've had multiple conversations with Bill Castle and his contractor at the time. And at no time did they communicate that they were worried about me or that I should not park my car on my driveway. The other thing is when the oak tree fell, I'm the person that called Bill Castle to let him know because he hadn't been to the property at all that week. There are plenty of pictures that I took of myself, by this big tree coming down, and none of them are on the garage. Nothing was near the garage. There's a picture that shows 2 eastern redbud trees that were pushed over onto the garage. They were growing right by the garage. That is a staged picture. It was never there. And when they took the building down, it was a Friday evening. I know because I was having dinner on my porch, and I feel that shows that they purposely took this building down because they didn't want to get caught or they didn't want to have anybody report them. And I'm concerned that if we have flippers coming in and spending all this time flipping a house, but not contributing anything to our community.
Thank you. We appreciate your comments and thank you for taking the time to write us as well. We appreciate it. So commissioners, there we have the story from both sides of it, and we have the staff recommendation in front of us as well. We'd like to have some comments or discussion.
John, I'll go. I was making some notes during the presentations, and I felt that there was no credible evidence that this was not a historic building. Nothing was presented picture-wise to show us that it wasn't. I'm not questioning that the building was poorly built or that it was in jeopardy when it was taken down, but the home was purchased at auction, and that assumes all the damage that comes with it. And the location in a historic district requires preservation of the building or permission for demolition. We've heard testimony that there was ignorance of the situation, the historic district situation. However, ignorance of the law excuses no one. And therefore, I'm going to accept the staff recommendation to not issue a certificate of appropriateness and require the owner to rebuild the garage.
So the end of that comment, Chris, sounded like a motion to me that we accept the staff recommendation. Do I hear a second for that? And then we can open it to discussion.
Second.
Okay, any discussion of that motion?
Yeah, well, I'd like to add to some of Chris's comments. It sounds to me like the building is old and is probably a little either of the date of the building or not, just because of the number of layers of roofing on it. That sounds reasonable. I personally have been involved in renovating 2 garages and 1 carriage house, which were in much worse condition than these, and we were able to stabilize them. One thing that seems very disingenuous to me is this is about to fall over on the people's property. I look at it, I see no way that it's going on the neighbor's property. 2, it says it's so urgent we had to do it immediately. Yet the storm happened in June and they waited until the middle of August, almost 2 months before they did anything. They gave them plenty of time to go to the historic Landmark Preservation Commission to get input and feedback from the commission. I think they just wanted to not do it and get it. And they're flipping a house. They're trying to make money. I understand. You want to make, you want to make all the money you can make, and that's reasonable. You're in the business to do that if you're a flipper. But I think this building, there are rules and laws that apply that were not followed, that were clearly ignored. We've heard testimony from several neighbors who say they told the people about it. They mentioned it to Castle and to others. So I'm with Chris. I think this clearly should be rebuilt. There's no excuse for tearing it down without following the proper procedures. If they thought that it was not repairable, they should have talked to the commission, and we could have had a technical committee inspected before it's done, and we can assemble those in a matter of days. So that's disingenuous.
Thank you, Ed. Any further comments from commissioners?
I had a question. Can you hear me?
Yes, sure can, Vince.
Yeah, I came in a little late. I did hear the tail end of that. My question is, on the rebuild, are they to rebuild it as it was?
Yes.
Okay. So it would be within I'm not sure the exact words, but it's a contributing property.
Yeah, an easy way to say it, Vince, would be just that they need to build it with like, kind, and quality.
Yes. Okay, that's what I was trying to say.
It may not be the exact preservation term, but it's general.
And within the footprint of where the previous garage and
right,
the back shed area were.
Okay.
And just to follow up with that, the staff recommendation is to vote to require plans come back before the commission, which means that you guys would be seeing the plans. You would be confirming that it is in accordance with the photos that we have, just to add that in.
And as an old insurance guy, spending my career in insurance, should their claim be successful, there should be money to rebuild this very building. So, any other questions or comments from the commissioners?
Yeah, I just comment that I know the real estate agent made a comment about it being an eyesore. And as someone who is on the Landmark Preservation Commission, that seems to be irrelevant. A historic building, you may quibble about whether you like it or not, but it's still a protected historic building.
Absolutely. Hearing no other comments, we can vote.
John?
Yes.
I have one question. This is Scott.
Yes.
Does the rebuild include, so there was clearly the garage, and then it looked like there was some sort of secondary structure attached. So do they have to do both? Or is it mainly the garage that has to be rebuilt?
I'm assuming from the recommendation, and Taylor and Caitlin, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that you think that we need to rebuild the garage, that the shed in back was in fact deteriorated beyond salvation. Was that your take on it?
Caitlin?
No, we were looking at the entire structure.
Okay. So yes, Scott, then we, as a point of clarification, that we would rebuild both.
I have a comment. We have a motion and a second. I think it's time to call.
Time to vote, exactly. So we need to do a roll call vote. Could you lead us off, Taylor?
Yes, 1 second. Before we go into that, Mr. Breza asked for one clarification. So Mr. Breza, you are unmuted.
Thank you. And I understand the sentiment of the panel, and thank you for your consideration. Given Mr. Waltmeyer's age and condition, it is possible and likely his executor will be addressing this issue. Would it be permissible for us to sell the property subject to the requirement to comply with the order. Because at this point, we are running into a situation where we don't have somebody with the authority or capacity to actually complete this. And we just want the property dealt with as efficiently as possible.
Caitlin, you're muted.
I'm not really sure how to answer that question. Typically, if a property is sold and there's an open code enforcement case, it would be on the responsibility of the previous owner that the original violation was on. I'm not sure if it can, be. But we would need to consult with our law office on that.
Yes.
Because I don't want to give any wrong information.
Understood.
That's not really the purview of this commission anyway. Our commission, we're addressing the specific issue in front of us.
Just not strictly speaking our purview, Ed, but if they try to contract and sell it in the near future, this needs to be addressed. So let's.
And yes, I was just going to say we'll get an answer, and Mr. Brezza, we will get back to you on that. And with that, I think we're ready for a roll call vote.
Yes, please.
Perfect. Chris?
Taylor, by voting yes, I'm voting to not issue a certificate of appropriateness. Is that accurate?
Correct. So if you are voting yes right now, you are not approving the demolition, and you are requiring the property owner to submit an application on or before April 11th or have a citation issued by code enforcement. So voting yes votes for those things on the screen right now.
Yes.
Perfect. Ed?
Yes.
Lily?
Yes.
Phoebe?
Yes.
Ray?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Salisa?
Yes.
Vince?
Yes.
Wendy?
Yes.
And John?
Yes.
And with that, the motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. And thank you again to all those who took the time to testify and show up tonight. We appreciate your interest. Thank you. Moving on, Taylor.
All righty, moving on. So Lisa, how do you feel that was your first review?
I feel great. It went wonderful in my opinion.
Agenda item number 5 is Chatsworth. It's the Ross property at 21 West Chatsworth Avenue in Reisterstown. Spinal landmark number 74, MIP number BA972. And the proposal is the construction of steps for the smokehouse and dairy. At the January 2022 LPC meeting, the commission reviewed plans to construct steps for the smokehouse/dairy located, for the smokehouse/dairy, a 2-story brick and frame structure with a regular footprint at Chatsworth, an 1830s vernacular style home with some Greek revival details. As a reminder, no steps exist there now. However, the ghosts of previous steps can be seen in the paint, and a 2006 photo from the MIP form show the location and simple design of the steps. Concerns were raised at the January meeting that the drawings for the steps were a safety issue as drawn and that they would not meet code, and that the step risers did not make sense. The commission denied the construction of the steps and asked the homeowner to resubmit with accurate drawings. The homeowner has now revised the drawings for the steps to better show the proposed steps and landings, and the drawings include a note that the steps will be constructed to code. The stairs and landing will be either pressure treated wood or rough cut oak. The posts will be 4x4s, and the 2x4 railings will have 2x2 pickets with 4-inch spacings. The steps will have an 8-inch tread and an 8-inch rise. The width of the stairs will be 36 inches, and the landing will be 36 inches by 48 inches. Staff's recommendation is to vote to issue a certificate of appropriateness, citing Baltimore County Historic Design Guidelines, Porches and Steps, page 3, and County Code section 327405.
Great,
And
thank you so much, Taylor. Do we have
sure,
anyone who wants to speak to this, applicant or neighbors or?
we have the homeowner online. Mr. Jeffrey Ross, you are unmuted if you have anything that you would like to add, or commissioners, if you have any questions for him.
I don't have anything to add. You said it beautifully.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. Thank you. Commissioners, any comments, questions, or a motion?
My recollection of this building from last time was that the roof was also rejected, but I don't see a roof submission.
No, I was not told that I need to resubmit the roof. The roof was approved as long as it's going to be in the cedar shake. So unfortunately,
you're
the
doing the
entire
cedar
roof
shake
was
roof,
redone. That roofer's not doing it. It's going to cost me 3 times the amount to get someone else to do the cedar shake, but I'm going to do it. And it was said in the letter I got, as long as I do it for cedar shake, it's approved.
Yes, yes, it was approved with conditions, exactly. Thank you.
I'm gonna, I'm gonna do, I have the cedar shake and someone's gonna do it.
Good, thank you. Thank you.
Well, I was one of the people that spoke up about the stair previously for having safety issues. And while the sketch still isn't quite there, the inclusion of the Baltimore County diagram as to how deck stairs should be built gives me a little more confidence in the structure. And this will go on through the permitting process. And I feel that since the building once had a stair there, that historically it's appropriate to rebuild the stair.
And once again, thank you. It sounds like a motion in the making to me, and I'm wondering if there's anybody who will second that.
I motioned to issue a certificate of appropriateness citing Baltimore County Historic Guidelines, Porches and Steps, page 3, County Code, section 32-7-405.
Thanks, Chris. Is there a second?
I'll second it. Edward.
Thank you. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, I think we ought to do a roll call again, Taylor.
Perfect, thank you. Chris?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Lily?
Yes.
Phoebe?
Yes.
Ray?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Salisa?
Yes.
Vince?
Yes.
Wendy?
Yes.
And John?
Yes, thank you. Next up, number 6.
Sorry, 1 second.
Yeah.
Sorry. I have a stack of papers over here with all of my notes.
Thank you, Taylor.
Next up, we have agenda item number 6. This is the Romay property at 4817 Butler Road in Glendon. It's a non-contributing structure in the Glendon County Historic District, MIP number BA2498. The proposal is ex post facto review of exterior signage for code enforcement correction notice CB2100788. 4817 Butler Road is a 2-story brick building with a historic Glendon Bank sign at the top. The structure was constructed circa 1931 in the colonial revival style. Although it's a non-contributing resource in the district, as it falls outside Glendon's period of significance, which ends in 1915, it has acquired significance on its own as a prominent building on Butler Road, the community's main thoroughfare. The property is older than 50 years old and architecturally has merit to be individually listed on the National Register or as a county landmark. The property should be reviewed within the context, style, and location of the structure and its relationship with the historic district. In July 2020, Dr. Leah Romay, she's a dentist, purchased the building and contacted staff for information on projects needing LPC review. Staff explained all exterior alterations required LPC review and a permit, and provided a copy of the Baltimore County Historic Design Guidelines. In mid-April 2021, Dr. Romay installed a new Baltimore Dentist Co. sign at the top of the building, covering up the Glendon Bank sign. In late July 2021, a Glendon neighbor contacted staff to see if the sign had been approved and properly permitted. In early December 2021, code enforcement issued a correction notice directing the property owner to contact staff to rectify the issue. As a note, staff had originally contacted code enforcement about this in July of 2021. However, there was a miscommunication on the correction notice being issued, which is why it was not issued until December. The property owner has now submitted an ex post facto application to approve the sign as installed. The installed sign is 144 inches by 20 inches. It is painted matte black metal with white lettering and the dentistry's logo. The sign was mounted to the mortar and installed by AA Signs. The new signage covers up the original historic sign on the building. Before and after photos are included in the meeting materials and are on the next slide. Keelan, if you could flip to that. Preservation brief number 25, the preservation of historic signs, states the following on new signs. The following points should be considered when designing and constructing new signs for historic buildings. Signs should be viewed as part of the overall graphic system for the building. New signs should respect the size, scale, and design of historic buildings. Often features or designs of the building will suggest a motif for new signs. Sign placement is important. New signs should not obscure significant features on the historic buildings. New signs should also respect the neighboring buildings. They should not shadow or overpower adjacent structures. Sign materials should be compatible with those of the historic building, and new signs shall be attached to the building carefully, both to prevent damage to the historic fabric and to ensure the safety of pedestrians. While staff appreciates the concerns were given on how the sign was mounted to the building, staff's most significant concern is the location of the sign, as it obscures a significant feature on the historic building. The engraved Glendon Bank sign is a character-defining feature and should not have been covered up with the new signage. Because of this, staff's recommendation is that the new sign be removed and reinstalled in the location of Dr. Rome's predecessor, Dr. J. Toth, had his Glendon Family Dentistry sign. And information on that was included on the previous slide and in the meeting materials. Staff's recommendation is to vote to not issue a certificate of appropriateness or a notice to proceed for the sign as installed, and issue a certificate of appropriateness for the removal of the sign, and issue a certificate of appropriateness for the sign to be installed below the historic Glendon Bank lettering in the location of the previously existing Glendon Family Dentistry sign. This is citing the National Park Service Technical Preservation Services Preservation Brief number 25, the preservation of historic signs, and County Code section 327405 and 327403.
Thank you, Taylor. Thank you. Is there anyone to speak for or against as the applicant with us?
Yes, Dr. Leah Romay is here and she is unmuted.
Hello, good evening. I'm Dr. Romay. Thank you so much for letting me speak. Yes, I did install the sign over top of the Glendon Bank sign because it's the most prominent part of the building. And I would often get people saying, oh, I thought this was a bank, and it's a business. It's my dental office. So, I mean, it's a very busy road, and I'm trying to help the community by providing dental care. And I just wanted to have a sign that people could actually see. So if I move it down lower, it's going to obstruct that keystone at the top. It's going to look, I think it's going to look weird. So that's what I'm worried about. And then also the previous sign that Dr. Toth had up was pretty small. It looks like, I mean, just from a visual standpoint, like you have the rectangles on the top and it says Glendon Bank, and then you have his below. It just like, now there's so much stuff going on. It's very busy. I just don't think it looks very nice. From that standpoint, I totally understand covering up the words Glendon Bank, but my thought process was, you know, I'm making my sign exactly the same size as was the sign, the Glendon Bank sign. So it would be very like cohesive and matching in that regard. And additionally, when I removed Dr. Toe's sign, which I don't know if he had approval for that sign, but it was attached with a lot of adhesive and not installed in a very nice way. I think he did it himself. So I did really take the effort to make sure it was installed safely. But ultimately, you know, it's a business. I'm trying to support the Glendon community, And I have a lot of patients that are part of the community. And I just want to make sure that it's clear to patients what the business is.
Good. Well, thank you, Dr. Omey. We appreciate your comments. Any questions for Dr. Omey or comments about the staff recommendation?
I have a question. Did you get a permit for putting the Baltimore Dental Company sign up on the building?
I did not, because I did ask those questions previously because I wanted to repair the mortar on the stone, which I haven't done anything about that. But it seemed like in the documents that I got, like as far as what needs approval, it was like the roof, the windows, this, and like I didn't see anything about the sign. So, and I said, well, there's already a sign on the building, which is the wrong business name, and no one can see it at all. Like literally everyone always said to me, I never even knew this was a dental office, and he had his practice there since '98. And then suddenly I put this bigger sign up, and then people are like, oh, I just noticed you're here. So like, I just said, oh, I'm swapping one sign for another. That's why I did it.
So to pursue that question more, did you or did you not get a sign permit? I'm unclear by your answer.
No, I did not. No, I did not get a sign permit because I did not see anything in the literature on the historic website. Everything that it discussed about getting permits, it has to do with like the brick, the windows, the steps, the railing.
Yeah.
So
No,
there was no mention anywhere of signs, and I thought I'm switching one sign for another.
Okay, thank you.
So that was confusing.
Any other questions for Dr. Omey? Hearing none, commissioners, would you like to make a motion to put this into discussion? Anyone could make a motion who is commissioner.
I'm admittedly a little confused because this is a non-contributing structure, but it's in the district, and that's why it's subject to our review.
Yes, correct. Any property in a county historic district, regardless of contributing versus non-contributing, does require review, same as like we've been reviewing the project on Prospect Avenue. That's a non-contributing structure, but still needs review.
Okay.
That said, this structure, though it is non-contributing because it was built after 1915 when Glendon's period of significant ends, as said in the staff report, it does have merit. It's not a contributing structure in Glendon. However, it could likely be listed on the Baltimore County Landmarks list or individually with the National Register.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for clarifying that.
Yes, could you further clarify that, because I'm just a little confused as well.
Sure. So any structure in a county historic district, regardless of status, requires all exterior alterations to be required by the commission. That includes anything from changes on the building to changes in the parking lot to changes in the yard. All of our historic districts have a period of significance. That's when the homes were constructed, and Glendon's period of significance ends on or around 1915. The structure was constructed in 1931, so it falls outside of that time frame. However, that said, it has gained significance over time, and if it was nominated to the landmarks list or to the National Register, it could qualify for it. So even though it's a non-contributing structure, it does not mean that it doesn't have historic significance.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so but it's it's not officially on the historic register.
Oh, you are part of a historic neighborhood, but let's come back to the sign for a minute. Just when we were asking about whether you got a sign permit, we've just confirmed this, but you need a permit for the sign regardless. whether
Okay.
you're replacing a sign or not. So without the permit, you're in violation of county code, quite apart from the historic issues. So that will ultimately need to be addressed by you as well. Commissioners, we still have on the floor where we need to take action and bring forth a motion.
I do have a question about one of the staff recommendations as far as lowering the sign and installing it at the old location. As it was mentioned, it looks like it might be a little bit bigger and might cover the keystone. I'm wondering if there is if there's an option to modify to, literally trim the sign slightly to fit, and then whether or not other commissioners have an issue with the fact that, typically all the stuff is white on the red brick. This is the opposite. In a sense, now that it's darker sign, maybe it will be more visible, even though it falls at the lower location. But I am concerned with covering. It's a much bigger sign, and placing it really close to the arch now, unless it can be reduced, I would not want to see it lowered at that size.
Just to chime in, if that was the commission's concern, but you wanted the sign to be moved but did not want it to cover up the keystone, that could be part of the conditional approval, that the sign be cut down, resized, whatever needs to be done so that the keystone is not covered. Just wanted to add that in. I think John and Ed, you both had comments.
Yeah, I have a comment. I agree with Lily. I don't see it just moving down. I think it's not appropriate where it is. It should be removed. And then I think they should come back to the commission with a suggestion for where they want to put the signs. They could do the sign as a smaller sign, similar to the prior sign. They could do a monument sign that sits in the ground. There are other options that are available to them. And I think, or it could be something else. Be creative and come back with a decent sign sign design that works with the building and is appropriate.
I would like to add that there's not any room for a monument sign.
So,
and I would also like to add, actually, I don't know, I didn't realize you were asking about like a permit in general for the sign. I will have to double check because I don't remember. I mean, when I worked with AA signs, I assumed that they would go through the normal things. They told me, oh, you can only put one sign on the building, because I wanted to put like two signs, like one on the side, and they said, oh, you can only have one. So maybe there is some permit and I just don't remember. So I will double check on that.
Okay.
When I was suggesting a monument sign, that's only one of many options. You need to come back to us with a sign that works on your building and is consistent with the design of the building, and we'll discuss it.
Okay.
I don't think we're not going to design it here in this building. We're not going to tell you the size of the monument sign or should you cut down 3 inches off. That's your decision to make, but you need to come back to us with what you decide to do.
So Ed, what I hear from you is a motion to accept the staff recommendation with the added proviso that they bring back a revised plan for the sign.
As they should have done in the beginning.
And is there a second for that?
I'll second it. This is Wendy.
And just a clarification, Taylor and Caitlin, my understanding is if they want to put a sign in the ground off of the building, that would not need our approval, or would it?
It would still require approval because it is in the district. And just to clarify, the staff recommendation was to approve the relocation of the sign. So if you are requiring the proposal to come back fresh, the application should be denied completely. The motion would be to not issue a certificate of appropriateness or notice to proceed and require the property owner to come back with a new sign proposal.
Okay. Thank Thank you for that correction. You accept that, Ed, and
Yes.
Wendy, do you accept that? You second?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I do.
Then let's have any further discussion on it among commissioners? Hearing none, let's do a roll call vote, please.
Chris?
Can we clarify what we're voting yes or no on? What a yes
So-
would mean and what a no would be?
Thank you.
I'm confused. I'm sure Chris is going to ask the same thing.
Design it.
Chris's favorite question. Voting yes right now would deny the sign and require the property owner to come back at a future meeting.
I'm going to vote yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Lily,
Yes.
Phoebe,
Yes.
Ray,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Salisa,
Yes.
Vince,
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
and John.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ramey, and we appreciate your comments, and we hope we can get it resolved. We certainly want everybody to find a good dentist in Glendon. Thank you.
Moving on, we have agenda item number 7. This is 532 St. Martin's LLC property located at 3610 Stony Brook Road in Fieldstone. This is a contributing structure in the Fieldstone County Historic District, and they're proposing 5 exterior alterations, which I will describe shortly. The applicant who purchased the property on January 7th, 2022 is proposing 5 exterior work items to rehab the 2.5-story Fieldstone Colonial located at 3610 Stony Brook Road. Work item 1 is the request to replace the existing original slate roof with architectural asphalt shingles for the house and the side porch awning and the detached garage. Per the historic review application, the current roof is old and leaking, and an in-kind replacement would be too costly. Photos provided show that that there is some staining and broken tiles. However, the roof appears to be in repairable condition. There was no condition assessment done by a slate roofer submitted to show the condition or quality of the slate. In addition, the feasibility of repairing and in-kind replacements where needed. While staff understands whole slate roof replacements are more expensive than asphalt, the slate roof is an original and character-defining feature of the home and the district as a whole. Therefore, every attempt to retain the slate should be considered before selecting a different material. Our design guidelines, roofs page 9 specifically, state the following on slate roofs. Slate is one of the most robust roof materials with a life of up to 100 years. Nevertheless, slate is subject to cracking, usually caused by hail or falling tree limbs or extensive oxidation. Additionally, because of the corrosion of the anchors, slate tiles may become detached from a roof's sheathing. Slate shingle feature is sometimes caused by delamination of the material. Treatment, good maintenance involves repair and replacement of individual slates as they break down. Replacement slates can be easily obtained in a variety of colors and shapes to match the existing. Substitutes, original slate roofs should be replaced with slate. With this in mind, staff's recommendation is that the property owner obtain an experienced slate roofer to conduct a conditions assessment of the roof to determine if replacement is necessary. The assessment should examine repair and in-kind replacement as needed versus the feasibility of a full replacement. The applicant should then return to the commission, submitting the assessment with a new application. The applicant should note that the roof repairs is a tax credit eligible product if the home is going to be homeowner occupied. Work item number 2 is for the replacement of the existing gutters and downspouts, as the existing are deteriorated and in poor condition. The applicant confirmed via email on January 27th that the new roof and downspouts would be 5-inch round aluminum. Staff recommends approval as proposed. Work item number 3 is to request the replacement the request to replace the existing wood windows with vinyl replacements. The existing windows are 8/8, a style very common in the Fieldstone County Historic District. The historic review application cites inoperability, broken glass, lack of screens, and not being energy efficient as reasons for replacement. The replacement windows are proposed to be Anderson vinyl windows in white with no grids or grills. As proposed, the replacement does not meet the design guidelines, as the guidelines state that in-kind replacements refers to a substitute consisting of the same material, light, sash, and other component part configurations. Vinyl and metal clad replacement windows are not permitted, and that comes from page 2 of the windows and doors section of the design guidelines. The proposed replacement windows do not match the existing windows in material or style. In reviewing the photos submitted, staff is not convinced replacement is the best option. The windows do not appear to be in great condition. However, with some new trim, weight, and glass panes, they appear to be restorable. Additionally, storm windows could be installed to improve energy efficiency without requiring the original wood windows to be removed. Staff recommends that the property owners revisit the proposal and consult a wood window specialist to conduct a conditions assessment and return to the commission. Submitting this report or analysis with the March meeting materials would help the commission make an informed, appropriate decision. In the event replacement is the only or best way forward, staff recommends the property owner propose replacing the windows in kind, with the proposed windows being divided light 8/8 wood windows. Window repairs and storm window installations are tax credit eligible projects, again, if the property is homeowner occupied. Work item number 4 is the request to remove 4 shutters, 2 sets on the left side of the home above the side porch awning. The shutters are vinyl and not original to the home, and therefore staff recommends approval as proposed. Work item number 5 is the request to remove the back door and install a new one. Per the historic review application, the existing door is wood and broken. Per photos, the top half of the door is boarded up and the bottom half is a 2-panel style. Based on a 2010 real estate photo staff was able to find, the top half of the door was a 6-light window. The replacement door is proposed to be a 4-panel metal door with a half-moon window at top. In general, this proposal does not meet the design guidelines. Our guidelines state that when replacing doors, the replacement should be designed in a manner that replicates the original door in style, in size, material, profile, number of panels, and other character-defining features. Instead of proposing a 4-panel metal door with a half-moon window at the top, the property owner should replace the door in kind, a wood door matching the original style, 6-light window on top, and 2 panels on the bottom. Staff would also be accepting of the replacement door being a fiberglass material as long as it's not wood grain, as it is located at the rear of the home and there is no screen door. Staff's recommendation is to vote to not issue a certificate of appropriateness or a notice to proceed for work item 1. To vote to issue a certificate of appropriateness for work item number 2, the gutters and downspouts. To not vote to issue a certificate of appropriateness or a notice to proceed for work item 3, the window replacement. To issue a certificate of appropriateness for work item 4, the removal of the shutters, and to issue a certificate of appropriateness for work item 5, the replacement of the back door, with the condition the replacement door be a wood or fiberglass material and match the original door in size and appearance. This is citing Baltimore County Historic Design Guidelines, roofs and windows and doors, and County Code Section 327405.
Thank you. Thank you, Taylor. You were getting a workout tonight. I appreciate it. Do we have the owner of the house with us, the applicant?
I do not believe so. If anyone is online representing the project, if you could raise your hand or send a message into the chat. Oh, perfect. Yep, someone is here.
Okay.
Okay, you are unmuted.
The question. Yes, hi.
Hi, you're unmuted.
Yes, I mean, I just bought the property last month in January. So before I go ahead, of course, I want to do the right thing and apply for the permit. And it's, I mean, I hope to sell the property in a couple months, so I'm not going to occupy. So in order for me to sell, you know, it needs a new roof, new windows. So, I mean, this is gonna be for a flip, so I wanna sell it and I wanna invest some money. So, so in order for the new buyer, I just wanna make it look safer, you know, and I want it to look nicer. So, like I said, I just bought the property last month, and before I go ahead and do anything, I applied for the permit just for the new buyer, you know, so it can look new and safe.
Good, good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We of course applaud your efforts to restore a home and make it look make it look good and shiny. But there are historic guidelines that would need to be followed for this home. And now I open it up to the commissioners for any comments or a motion.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, thank
John?
you. If the commissioners have any questions, they'll ask you directly.
John?
Yes, go
John,
ahead, Wendy.
this is Wendy. I was a little confused. Is the home resold or is it just on the market?
My understanding, and the applicant can correct me if I'm wrong, is she bought the home with the intent to fix it up and resell it.
Yes, correct.
So
But
Yes.
it's not on the market for sale yet?
Not yet. I just bought it last month.
So any questions from the commissioners, or do we have a motion?
I have comments. Is it time for the comments or?
Yes, please, Ed.
I agree
A
with
motion
staff.
may come from those comments. Well, I'll be.
I agree with staff's recommendations. And I think that the fact that we have another flipper who's buying a house to resell it, it still has to be done in accordance with the guidelines that are set up by the county. So it's not an option. It's unfortunate that she's flipping it because she can't take advantage of the tax credits. There are state and local tax credits, which are would make this, the Slate part of it very attractive. I mean, it makes it, it's a good deal to do it if you can get the tax credits. She won't be able to get them because she's not it's not her primary residence. So, but that's another issue. That's a different issue, but it's one of the issues that flippers do encounter in historic districts. So I'll make a motion to follow staff's recommendations in the should I read them or?
Caitlin, could you flip to the next screen? There we go. And Ed, you can just confirm that they're on the screen. The the meeting is audio and visual recorded, so this can serve as your motion.
The windows, were they listed?
Yeah, yes. That's the third item down.
Yeah, I agree with the staff recommendations.
Okay, so the motion is to approve the staff recommendations. Is there a second?
I'll second, Phoebe.
Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, maybe do a voice vote, Taylor?
Yes, I want to say something. I know the area, I know the street, and there are other houses, they have shingle roof. New windows, vinyl windows, and shingle roofs. And I know other flippers, they are doing it without permit. So I just want to do the right thing and apply for the permit. But I know other houses has shingle roof on the same street and vinyl windows.
Thank you for that. And we take them on a case-by-case basis. I can't speak to any other homes that have been altered in that area. But we also hope that by careful restoration and careful work, that the home will assume a higher value for you when you go to resell it. That's part of the value of historic homes, that they generally bring a higher price. So, but thank you for that. And now, we can continue with the vote, Taylor.
Yes, Chris,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Lily,
Yes.
Phoebe,
Yes.
Ray,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Salisa,
Yes.
Vince,
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
and John.
Yes. And before we start on the next one, Taylor, I want to do a little introduction on this one, as I know that there are some letters and comments that we received later, and I just want to remind the board and those who may be listening in that we have talked about this project several times in previous meetings, and we have to be mindful of what recommendations that we have given the homeowner in previous meetings. If they have complied with everything we've asked them to do, I think it would be unfair of us to now add further requirements unless there is some new information that we were not aware of. With that introduction, I'll turn it over to you, Taylor. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, John, for that reminder as well. Agenda item number 8, the Bear property at 4607 Prospect Avenue in Glendon. This is a non-contributing structure in the Glendon County Historic District, and the proposal is the construction of a 10-foot by 14-foot pavilion in the rear yard with a head height ranging from 8 foot 1 3/4 inch to 10 foot 1 inch. At the October, November, and January LPC meetings, the homeowner proposed to construct a pavilion/pool shelter in the rear yard. The October and November proposals for the structure were denied due to the following concerns: not having accurate drawings of all sides of the structure, water draining into the neighbor's yard, height, location, visibility from the public right-of-way, and lack of supports and hurricane ties. The January proposal was denied due to the following concerns: the commission not knowing the exact location, water drainage issues into the neighboring yard if the structure was located too close to the fence, and being too visible from the public right-of-way. The homeowner has now submitted additional information on the structure and the location proposed at the January meeting. As a reminder, the pavilion or pool shelter is proposed to be 10 foot by 14 foot with a height ranging from 10 foot 1 inch in the front and 8 foot 1 3/4 inch in the rear. The front will have an 8 foot 1 inch headroom clearance, and the rear will have a head clearance of approximately 6 foot 10 3/4 inch. I do apologize, I misspoke on that earlier. That is the correct measurement. The structure will face towards the backyard pool area, and the roof will slope down towards the fence. The proposed structure will be constructed out of pressure treated pine and will be open on all sides. The post will be a glulam material. Staff confirmed that the roof will be gray asphalt shingles to match the roof on the main home. There's an existing concrete pad, and new concrete footers will be poured at a depth of 30 inches to 48 inches under each proposed 8x8 post. The homeowner has now submitted photos of her backyard, the location of the shelter, the property line between 4607 and 4609 Prospect Avenues, showing that 4609 has a small hill down to 4607, implying that water drainage will not be an issue. A photo showing her fence is 3.5 feet from the property line, a better site plan with a narrative calling out the exact location of the structure, and a balloon test conducted by the homeowner to show the visibility of the pavilion. Staff is accepting of the proposal and recommends approval. The homeowner has scaled the height down from the original proposal, which will help diminish its visibility from the street, and the structure is now more comparable with what previously existed. Additionally, the home is a non-contributing resource located to other non-contributing resources. The commission needs to review this proposal for adherence to the guidelines and not on opinions of others. Should the commission not be accepting of the proposal, staff is requesting that the commission vote to assign a technical committee to visit the property prior to the March meeting to report back. Staff's recommendation is to vote to issue a certificate of appropriateness, setting Baltimore County Historic Design Guidelines, additions and infill page 4, and fences and landscape page 5, and County Code section 327405.
Thank you, Taylor. Thank you. Are there applicants with us tonight?
Yes, Miss Donna Bear, the property owner, is online. Donna, you are unmuted.
Yes, hello.
Hello.
Hi. I prefer not to make a statement unless there's anyone that has some kind of a dispute against this proposal until
Okay.
after they make a dispute, please.
Okay, we will hold that thought. And Taylor, are there others who would like to speak?
I'm not. We have some folks online from Glendon, but I'm not sure if anyone was interested in speaking. If anyone's interested, could you either send a message to the host or use the hand raise button to signify you'd like to speak? I'm not seeing anything at this time.
Good, good. So Miss Bear, we will save your remarks for some other time then, I guess, and proceed with the commissioners. Any questions for Miss Bear, or is there a proposal that somebody would like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. This is Ed.
Thank you. And the motion is?
To vote to issue a certificate of appropriateness.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. And
I'm sorry, before we go on with that, I just wanted to say, Mr. Tom and Miss Kim Montana, the neighbors at 4609 Prospect Avenue, they did submit a letter, as well as the Glendon Community Association. Those were the letters that were shared with you this afternoon. So the Montanas just wanted to confirm that you received them, and I let them know in the chat that you did, but I just wanted to make sure that was stated for the record.
yes,
And with that, we will do a roll call vote. Chris?
thank
Yes.
you.
Ed?
Yes.
Lily?
Yes.
Phoebe?
Yes.
Ray?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Salisa?
Yes.
Vince? Vince, you're muted.
I'm sorry.
You're good.
Yes.
Wendy?
Yes.
And John.
Yes.
And with that, the structure passes.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Moving on, we have agenda item number 9, the Francis property, located at 510 Sudbrook Lane in Sudbrook Park. This is a contributing structure in the Sudbrook Park County Historic District, and the proposal is the replacement of a 12-foot by 18-foot portion of the existing ground level deck with a new 20-foot by 30-foot new deck elevated to 8 foot with parking underneath. The homeowners would like to remove an existing ground level deck and replace it with a new deck elevated 8 feet above ground level. The deck is located off the rear of the home, which sits on approximately 1.2 acre lot. The structure will be constructed of wood, and the raised portion will have plywood and lattice on all 3 sides. The underneath of the deck will be used for parking. A mock-up of the proposal and a basic site plan are included in the meeting materials and are on the slideshow presented. The Sedbrook Park Landmarks Committee reviewed the proposal on January 18th, 2022. Their letter is included in the meeting materials, as well as additional information from the property owner addressing their concerns. Staff does not support this project as proposed and with the information currently provided. No elevation drawings were provided, and therefore it is impossible to know how the deck or parking structure will look. Additionally, the property already has a detached garage at the end of the long driveway, so staff is unclear why additional covered parking is necessary. In terms of the basis of the proposal, staff has concerns it meets the design guidelines. Our guidelines state that decks and accessory structures should be designed in a manner that is compatible with the principal structure. While we understand that the structure is not quite a deck and not quite a garage, it is not in keeping with the design of the dwelling or the Sudbrook Park County Historic District. Staff recommends the homeowner revisit the proposal with a contractor to determine best course of action for what he is looking for. Should the homeowner wish to resubmit, staff would like to see complete elevation drawings of the structure, as well as additional information on why it is needed and how it is consistent with Sedbrook Park. Staff's recommendation is to vote to not issue a certificate of appropriateness or notice to proceed, citing Baltimore County Historic Design Guidelines, Fences and Landscape, pages 4 and 5, and County Code section 327-405.
Thank you, Taylor. Is anybody speaking for the Francis property? Are the owners with us tonight?
Yes, the property owner, Mr. Kevin Francis, is online. Mr. Francis, you are unmuted.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you. Yes. So the thing is, okay, I like cars, and so I kind of I needed more space for them, and that's I mean that's one of the things, the reasons why I wanted this change. Not only that, if you see the deck, I always found, even from the beginning since I bought this house, the deck looked very small there. It didn't fit the size of the house. I always wanted to elevate it to the higher, in line with the foundation of the house. So this will be approximately in line. It will be about a foot higher than that. So that is where I was coming from also. So it was both those things. And the committee, the Sudbrook committee, was right when they said that I didn't give them enough information, because the information I gave them before was only the first 2 pages that you showed, not these other drawings, which here I actually did the real thing, a comparison of the current and what the future would look like. So you can see them both, the existing and the proposed. So this is this is what I kind of drew, the proposed one. So you can see it in comparison to how it would look after it's built. And you would see from the third picture, the next one, the next slide, how it would look from the back of from the rear of the house. Now my my lot is a very large lot. This it's very far. You couldn't see, so you could only see it like this. This is how you could see it. And even if you went close from the next slide, you could see I drew these pictures. I didn't give to the Sudbrook committee. They didn't have them at that time, for which reason they said they didn't have enough drawings and didn't know what it's going to look like in proportion to the building. So this is how it now looks. So I kind of, because I'm an artist too, so I kind of do this stuff also. So I made it look very as real as I want it to be. So you'll notice how the thing looks in proportion to the house and the color combination and everything like that. But I'm open. You know, I want to play with the guidelines. I don't have so much money to spend and waste my money. If you say yes, I'll be happy. If you say no, I can't do anything about it. I'll move along. That's where I am.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Francis. We appreciate your comments. Any questions for the applicant from the commissioners?
I have I don't know if it's a question or comment, but I do have. I'm looking at the image I'm seeing to the right.
Yes.
That's what's being proposed. Is that right?
Yes. That's right. That is correct.
Okay. Just visually, it just strikes me as markedly different than the existing structure. It may accommodate your needs, but it just looked, you know, in terms of the look of the house itself, and it is attached to it, that it's markedly different. And you know, that's the first thing that jumps out at me.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Francis?
Yeah, I have a question for him. There's no site plan. I mean, when I'm looking at page 4 of 11 and what was given to us, I think that's supposed to be a site plan, but it has no property lines. If that is a garage, there's no driveway shown going to it. The whole thing just, I need a decent, and that's not a site plan. I mean, there are no property lines, I don't see how that relates to the street. Where's the driveway that goes in? Where are the doors? I mean, I need more information to really be able to evaluate this. I'd really like to see real elevations drawn. I mean, I have a better idea with these new renderings, which are new, so I have a better idea what's actually going on. But it would be better to see it as a proper elevation drawings, which means you probably ought to engage an architect and get somebody to draw this that can do it properly and give us what we're used to seeing, which is actual information on how you're going to build this thing.
I would say that we would be more inclined to approve this if the neighborhood association approved it, and at this point they're not. So you're asking us to go against your neighbors, which we would not be inclined to do. I think that your design could work in concept, and I would advise to take some of the cues from your existing home porch construction instead of photoshopping your existing deck, which is made out of redwood. It's a good effort, but I think that it kind of hurts your presentation that it's images of your existing deck inflated in some software program. So I would go back to your homeowners group.
Thank you. So hearing both Ed and Chris's comments, a germ of emotion, would either of you like to make it a motion?
Hold on. I would make a motion to vote to not issue a certificate of appropriateness or a notice to proceed.
And I'm going to second that.
With more information.
I would like to add that they that maybe they go back to the Sudbrook local historic society and have their have their blessing before they come back.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other comments or discussion? May we have a roll call vote then?
Yes, thank you. And as a reminder, if you vote yes to this, you are voting against the construction. Chris?
Yes.
Correct.
Ed? Lily?
Yes.
Phoebe?
Yes.
Ray?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
Vince?
Yes.
Wendy?
Yes.
And John?
Yes. Yes.
And with that, the motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Next up, we're almost there. I promise. Agenda item number 12, the Keras property at 504 Sudbrook Lane in Sudbrook Park. This is a contributing structure in the Sudbrook Park County Historic District. And the proposal is the installation of a wood and wire deer fence in the side and rear yards. The homeowner would like to install a deer fence in the side and rear yards of her home to help define a garden and keep deer out. The fence is proposed to be wire and wood construction. Welded wire in 4-inch squares will be encased in cedar frame panels measuring 8 to 12 feet in length and 4 feet in height. The panels will mostly be obscured by plantings once completed. 6-inch cedar posts will be between each panel. These posts will then be extended to 7 feet, 3 feet above the height of the panels, and stainless steel wires will be strung at 5.5 foot and 7 foot. The purpose of the higher strung wire is to stop deer from getting into the garden and yard. A sample photo is included in the meeting materials and on the screen. However, it does not exactly match the dimensions the homeowner is proposing, as she could not find an exact example. The proposed fence will have fewer 7-foot posts than shown. In addition to the fence, the homeowner is proposing 2 wooden flat-topped gate arbors with gates, one on the left side of the home and one on the right. A sample photo is included in the meeting materials. Staff has no issue with the arbors and gates as they are appropriate in design, and the commission has supported arbors in Sudbrook Park in the past. Regarding the fence, staff appreciates that the fence is proposed to be constructed of wood. However, it is an out of the norm proposal for any of our county historic districts design-wise. Staff understands that this is because of the intended function of the fence. A deer fence versus most of the fences we see are for privacy, dogs, children, etc. And we encourage the commission to discuss the proposal and possible creative solutions, like only enclosing a portion of the yard or constructing a wooden privacy fence instead with the homeowner. Should no other solution be feasible, staff would prefer to see the 7-foot wood posts only be installed in the backyard, not the side yards facing Sudbrook Lane. This would decrease visibility and would make the fence more in keeping with the district. Staff's recommendation is to vote to issue a notice to proceed with the condition the 7-foot posts are not installed perpendicular to the home facing Sudbrook Lane. This is citing Baltimore County Historic Design Guidelines, Fences and Landscape, pages 1 to 5, and County Code Section 327405.
Thank you. Thank you, Taylor. Is the applicant with us? Would they like to speak?
Yes, she is. Miss Deanna Keras. I'm so sorry if I said that wrong, but you are unmuted.
Thank you. It's actually Dina, but thank you.
Sorry.
Yes, I've recently moved to this property in Sudbrook Park, but I have lived in Sudbrook Park. I used to live at 507 for 25 years, so I'm familiar with and I love the neighborhood. I'm an avid gardener, and my hope was to install a more aesthetically pleasing and durable alternative to like a metal post and wire, fence that would keep the deer away. With something that was more visually open and that could also be used for plant support, because my plan is to plant along that fence and use that as support for the plants. I know the posts along the front part of the fence were a stretch, but I thought I'd try it, and I would ask if the posts in the front part parallel to the street were just kept at the 4-foot level, would that be an appropriate fencing and keep the side and the back perimeter at the taller level for deer keeping the deer out?
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Keras. Any questions for the applicant? Any comments?
I'm not sure if it's a question or comment, but I remember my grandfather had a beautiful garden, and what he did was put fence not only on the sides, but not that tall, but put it over the top so they could not hop the fence into the garden. So I don't know if that might be feasible to keep it lower, but to put the, wire fencing material there in your lower fence over the top of the fencing and have a garden area. It worked. I'll put it that way.
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
I think she's proposed or suggesting or asking, I guess is a better way, if you could enclose your entire garden and then have a lower fence. So maybe a 6-foot fence tall enough for you to walk in without difficulty and garden in an enclosed space.
It worked for him. He had a wonderful garden.
So I'm still sorry. I'm still not understanding. So enclose a smaller part of the yard? Is that what?
Well, that's
you're I don't know. I'm maybe not assuming the right thing. I thought you wanted to keep them mainly out of your vegetable garden.
Well, I actually plan on gardening in the entire property, across the entire property. So I did want to put as much of the property in a protected area as possible. Obviously, this part in the front of the home will have to be dealt with in a different way. But I was hoping to actually plant that entire area that's within that fence proposed area.
So just for clarification, we're looking at a screen with a dotted line, and the dotted line is what you are hoping to enclose. Is that correct?
No, the dotted line that says it, that was actually an earlier plat that I had submitted. There was a more updated one. That was an existing chain link fence, which has since been removed.
So it's the solid line.
So it's just the solid line that goes from the garage towards the street across to the home, and then on the other side, and then it just goes around the side and back of the property. So the entire area behind the home and the next to the garage would be where I would like to enclose.
Thank you.
John, I'd like to comment that this is one of those areas where we're first in line to review this, but this is actually a zoning issue. The height and distance from the property line is dictated by zoning and actually dictated by the setback of the home. So personally, I'm in favor of whatever the zoning will approve for this. I have no problem with the fence. It's all a zoning issue.
I agree with Chris. I like the fence design. I think it's good. I think the fact that it's high is, if it were the same material, I think it would feel bigger. But these, I did a similar sort of, it's a very different fence, but I also took posts up to the 7-foot height, and I only did one stainless steel wire, but it's invisible. I mean, it really feels like the fence is really just a low fence. And if I look at the photographs that were submitted, what was the number? Hold on, let me see if I can find the photograph that I'm looking for. Yeah, there are a couple of, it's on page 8 of the documents that you gave us. It shows looks like a privet hedge running across the front of the house, which is going to screen anything you see from the street. So and particularly, I mean, this is a winter shot with no leaves on the privet hedge, But in the summer, it's going to be totally invisible from the street, I believe, at least with the
Yes.
photographs that I'm seeing here. And in the summer, it's going to be totally, enclosed if she leaves the privet hedge. But even if she didn't, I mean, there may be an issue with having too large a fence, but it's really not in the front yard. It's behind the yard. So I would agree with Chris. If it meets zoning, I'm okay with it. I like the design.
So that sounds like a motion, Ed, that you were saying that.
I vote to issue a notice to proceed.
Okay.
Period.
Thank you.
I'll second that motion pending approval by, and add pending approval by zoning.
Right. And so just as clarification, anything we do still requires zoning and other permits. We are one of the stops along the line, and it frequently comes to us first because they won't issue a permit until they know we've signed off on it. So it will go through that process. And any further discussion or questions? May we have a roll call vote then?
Yes, thank you. Chris,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Lily,
Yes.
Phoebe,
Yes.
Ray,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Salisa,
Yes.
Vince,
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
and John.
Yes.
And with that, it passes unanimously.
Thank you. Without dissent. And now to the exciting conclusion of our program for tonight. We have one more, right?
Yes, this is our last item up for discussion. I appreciate everyone hanging in there with us. Agenda item number 15. This is the Marks Pendziskery property located at 507 Sudbrook Lane in Sudbrook Park. It's a contributing structure in the Sudbrook Park County Historic District, MIP number BA3026. The proposal is the installation of a spaced board or a 3-board paddock wood fence to enclose a portion of the backyard. The homeowner is seeking approval for a new wooden fence to enclose a portion of the backyard of the home at 507 Sedbrook Lane to secure her dogs and children. The homeowner has provided 2 styles for review: a spaced board fence with cap boards or a 3-board paddock fence with a wire backing. Either fence will be all wood and 48 inches tall, with 3 gates, 2 single and 1 double, as shown on the site plan. In a January 31st email to staff, the homeowner stated that the spaced board fence was preferred, but that they would accept either. As a note, the gap between each of the proposed spaced boards is 2.5 inches, and the boards are only on one side of the fence. This is not a privacy fence. The Sudbrook Park Landmarks Committee approved the project as presented. However, a letter was not included in the meeting materials. Staff does not have a preference on the fence approved, as both proposals are appropriate design, height, and material. Staff recommends approval of the spaceboard fence with cap boards since it is the homeowner's preference. Staff's recommendation is to vote to issue a certificate of appropriateness for the spaceboard fence as proposed, citing Baltimore County Historic Design Guidelines, Fences and Landscape, page 4, and County Code section 327-405.
Thank you. Is the applicant with us today?
She is not.
Okay. Commissioners, any discussion, a motion on the floor?
Based on the approval by Sudbrook Park and our recommendation by our commission, I would recommend that we issue a certificate of appropriateness.
May we have a second?
Which one? If you have to say which fence you want.
Oh, I think the
A, isn't it?
preference was A, right?
Yes.
Yes.
That's approved fence style A. Vote to issue a certificate of appropriateness for the spaceboard fence as proposed, citing Baltimore County Historic Design Guidelines, Fences and Landscapes, page 4, County Code, section 32-7-405.
Great. Thank you. And a second for that?
Ed.
Second.
Ed and Vince, good. Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Sure, thank you. Chris,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Lily,
Yes.
Phoebe,
Yes.
Ray,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Salisa, Vince,
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
and John.
Yes.
And that passes unanimously. Real quickly, we just have a couple of things to report on. First, we had one tax credit that was administratively approved by staff, and that was the Moore Jane property at 128 North Beechwood Avenue in Catonsville. They had MHT approval for an in-kind replacement of deteriorated slate roof tiles and the replacement of roofing components. And then next, as far as other business, we have an update on the technical committee site visit to 3601 Briarstone Road. If any of the technical committee members would like to offer additional information, but essentially they decided to approve the window replacement with a couple of conditions. So no further action is needed from the commission. Staff will get the approval letter taken care of, and then the property owners will be able to apply for their permit.
I just want to give a shout out to Lily and Wendy. Thank you so much for taking the time to come out and meet with Caitlin and myself there and take a look at that on behalf of the commission. Thank you for that good work.
You're welcome. It was a beautiful day.
It was a beautiful day. Beautiful day. Anything else for the good of the cause? Hearing nothing, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
In a second.
Second.
By acclamation?
We can just do an all in favor of that one.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Anybody dissent? No? Good. Okay. Thank you so much, and thank you for your patience. And Taylor and Caitlin, thank you. This was a lot of work.
Thank you, Taylor. Thank you, Caitlin.
Thank you all. You have a wonderful night.
Thanks.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.